Aloha, Pro Riders, and welcome to this edition of The Flow. This time you got me, Doc Rock, along with our producer, Mr. Camera Junkie. Hello, Luis.
How you doing, Doc?
Today we're going to continue our Flow production conversation, get into some tips, sort of remind you, if you didn't see the last one, in the previous episode, we talked a little bit about how we produce the flow and how we make this video podcast and stuff way easier because still, I just came back from 2 conferences. And the only thing I ever hear is, I don't do video because it's harder. I don't know why that makes me chuckle because video is easier. I really don't understand how everybody thinks it's harder. Video is easier. The other one that's kind of funny is people often say that video is expensiver. That's not how they say it. They use real English. But I'm like, nah, not really. Nowadays, it doesn't have to be because everyone owns a phone. Like, unless you're one of those people who are on an iPhone 8, you're kind of good. I mean, pretty much everybody has a phone. So if you did nothing but fire up Ecamm and put your phone on, you're kind of gangster. But if you do go in, nowadays you can get cameras like Paul. Paul's rocking a $120 camera. That looks good. It looks good with his face in it. Don't tell Paul we said that. So first of all, welcome. We're going to talk about this. If you have questions, of course, you can throw those joints into the chatty chat and then we can get at them. And I guess, what was your key takeaway from the last conversation, El? What kind of popped your socks over there?
Oh, that was a couple weeks ago. So a lot has happened since that
but you do this every Tuesday. So,
but you're saying what was the thing that reminded me or like stuck out the most 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, like that was such a long conversation. I don't remember what I had for lunch 2 days ago, but I'm being honest. But it just depends on which aspects because there's always a lot of different things. I think we were getting into and we were starting to scratch the surface of like the post-production aspect of it, which is what I think like I wanted to touch into, which we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to talk about the post-production. I think, so again, I just came from this conference and, a lot of people were having questions about remote production. And again, everybody assumes it's hard. And it kind of seems the one thing that people are kind of stuck on is understanding the idea of you calling a producer and the producer pressing all the buttons for you. And I'll say, as a person who runs their own show and a person that gets to do this show where you're kind of pressing the buttons, I can't say that one is easier than the other, but I do feel, no pun intended, people, the flow of the one where I don't have to press any buttons is easier. And that's coming from somebody who is fully capable of pressing all the buttons. For the people who feel like they struggle with the concept of doing the 2 things at one time, I think the remote producer is an absolute, you should do it. I guess the funny part of that. You know what? Go.
Well, you just sparked part of the conversation that I just got reminded of.
That's the host job, Luis. Do you know how this works?
Yeah, exactly. So let me ad-lib to it, right? Let's add to it. But that you had actually mentioned that there were so many people who've actually have done productions, do podcasts or video interviews, and have never been a guest themselves, which is like mind-boggling to me because that's one of the big takeaways. Like you just mentioned, I do all the button pushing. I've also been as a guest on other shows, and it's far easier to be a guest. Like even though we like the button pressing and we enjoy the production side and we know how to do it for ourselves, when we have somebody else doing it for you, it's like going out to eat, instead of cooking your own meal. It's 100%. Just, you're going to get a completely different experience and you're going to get to enjoy all of the benefits of the meal without having to worry about, prep or cleanup.
Yeah, that's true. It is exactly kind of like going to a restaurant. I definitely feel sometimes you go to the restaurant, it's like, man, I could have cooked that. but you also don't have to clean that. Except for really, really high-end Italian restaurants, I feel like that about most of your basic Italian restaurants. Like, I can outcook Olive Garden, but actually, I haven't been to Olive Garden in 10 years. but when you do go, you're like, yeah, look, I don't got to clean up. Like, I'm pretty sure I can outcook CPK, Olive Garden, all of those basic kind of places. But, as far as the Mama Canellis, yeah, I can't do that. Like, she going to smoke us. So there's that.
Yeah, but it's the effort involved.
Yes, it's the effort, the prep, like all of that little stuff. Especially when you go and you get something a little bit more highfalutin than you can sort of do at home. The problem is I tend to go to pasta places and I get one or two things. Creamy pesto, because that's the bomb. Also super easy. Or number one, cacio e pepe, which is simple. But when it's done in a pro kitchen, it's way better. It's some emulsifying on a regular stove that doesn't generate the type of heat that a pro stove does. Completely different game. Why are we talking about this? Never mind. So let's dive deeper into this. Quick reminder, oh my God, I'm hungry now. This particular episode is brought to you by Shure. You guys know Shure. They're our favorite people, but we'll put a link to that in the description. And of course, we'll talk about them at the end. Let's dive in. So what has been some of the biggest changes for you as far as remote production workflow over, say, like the last 6 to 8 months?
I would say 6 to 8 months, maybe even a year. I would still have to say the biggest change and addition has to be Ecamm for Zoom. That whole integration and everything to be able to host a variety of different, guests, a lot easier, offloading a lot of the production or like the how you say the strain that you would put on your system, loading that off to Zoom and having them handle the audio and video to allow the production on the Ecamm side to work better. I have to say it's got to be the biggest thing for me within that time frame.
Love that. Love that. Now, Gary just mentioned in the chat that to Gary, your biggest highlight from the last episode was Stream Deck. And since we're going to talk about updates, I want to talk about the new Stream Deck software that brings in virtual Stream Decks is bananas. Rich hates when I say bananas, but you know what, Rich? Too bad, because it's bananas. It's really bananas.
Okay, well, you can tell me a little bit about it because I'm not familiar. I haven't updated recently.
Okay, so you have to go to Stream Deck. You have to go to Elgato website, go on Stream Deck, and then download the beta version of the software. But what they basically did was allow you to build Stream Decks that are on screen. And cool if you happen to sidecar an iPad, because there is Stream Deck Mobile, but it's semi-limited. But Stream Deck Virtual is crazy, and it can be whatever shape you want. It can be as many buttons as you want. It can do everything. This is not weird, and I have to point this out because people get very crazy. Well, how come you still need a Stream Deck? Because they sell Stream Decks, homie. Like, this is how business works. Never mind. I won't say bad words. People are mad because you have to have your Stream Deck plugged in at least once every 30 days in order for it to keep going. It is not a replacement for the Stream Deck because it's free.
It's
right?
an addition to.
It's an addition to it. So you do need to plug your Stream Deck in. But if you're a person who's limited on desk space, maybe, or you just want to build out something crazy, Paul kind of Stream Deck, Paul could take one of his monitors, right? And like put it right above the Elgato teleprompter or right below it and fill that sucker with Stream Deck buttons and actually shape and group and color code them. So like there's a purple one for my show and an orange one for the Ecamm show and like a different color one for another show. Like Paul can go to town in these things. And you do not have to sidecar your iPad. But if you do, that would give you a touch surface. I actually own a monitor that's over here just out of sight. It's called the JSOX or JOX actually, but JSOX. I don't know why I call it JSOX. Maybe it's because I'm a Red Sox fan. That is a touchscreen monitor. So for instance, I could put that over there, put both of them suckers on there, right? Fill it all up with buttons and then do it pat, 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 pat. Like it's bananas. So go to Elgato. I'm trying to find a link. Paul will find a link. But basically go to Elgato, get the demo, not the demo, the beta. download it, and you can create some virtual Stream Deck buttons. And since it's been about 2 weeks since it came out, I'm going to bet that somewhere between Neil and Alec, there's already like a tutorial on how to get up in there, but it's relatively simple. It's relatively simple, and it's really cool. And again, because it's on your computer, you can go to town with like cutifying your buttons and making them straight gangster. The other thing that came out, which works good for us, is the Stream Deck modules finally dropped. And Stream Deck modules allow you to like 3D print or wood cut or paper craft your own situation when it comes to how you want the layout. Because you basically just get the board. All the plastic is missing. It comes with a board that has a USB in the bottom. And so you could build your own thing. So people are like routing out the thing in the desk. Like I got a big old, I'm about to say that word. I got a big tree right here. Like it's a 4-inch tree, koa. Not that I'm going to do it because this is an $8,000 top, but I could route a hole in it, put the decks right in there, and then tap, 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 tap.
Like, if it were IKEA.
Yeah, if it was IKEA, that boy get cut up. That boy getting cut up. Costco, $250, that boy getting cut up. $8,000 for a tree.
Exactly.
Nope. No, I didn't pay $8,000 for this tree, but if I were to sell it to somebody, that's what I could sell it for. I made it myself, so the blank slab was probably about $4,000. Anyway,
it's funny because my mind went right there because as soon as you started talking about it, my mind jumped to those external touch screen monitors that you could just put off to the side, connect via USB-C, and you're set. Like you really are golden. And because it works with the original Stream Deck, you can switch pages.
Yes.
On a button on the Stream Deck will give you like unlimited virtual.
You use the Stream Deck to control the screen one, or you use the screen one. You can vice versa. Like it's pretty sexy. Rich did have a question. Rich says, "How do you sidecar your iPad? Either throw a cable in it and it comes up, or you can do it wirelessly. Like both directions work. All you need is, I think, in an iPad that can go like iOS, I want to say 12 and above. It's been a minute. So
I think so. Yeah.
If they're in the same network, you can just sidecar it. And if it's not, you put a cable in it and then you can set it up as an additional display. So yeah, super cool. Because then you can put everything over there.
But yeah, the only thing you would just need to check to make sure is that your iPad can handle sidecar, because not all of them had the capability to do it. And if so, if it's connected on the same iCloud account, then they should communicate to each other the same way that your phone kind of connects to your system as continuity camera. The iPad should connect the same way as sidecar.
So Rich is saying that he hasn't been able to get it to work with the iPad. I'm not going to get my iPad right now because I can't leave Luis to talk to y'all for 10 minutes while I walk my fat butt upstairs. But I'm going to try it after this. I'll bring it down and I'll try to put it on the extra iPad because I mean, it should work. But I mean, at this point in time, you can get a touchscreen display from Temu for like 25, 30 bones, and like that would work. All right, let's go. Anyway, so that's a cool update to me. I think one of the other new tools, and I guess this one will go to my buddy Rich, not really a production tool, but a pre-production tool, and that is Magi, which is an AI tool that allows you to use all of the top bots or AI platforms for a single price, and it's pretty cool. So you can use Claude, ChatGPT, Llama, Deep Search, DeepSeek, whatever the heck it's called. You can use Gemini, if all the pro versions basically for $20. And I've been playing with it so much that last night when I was finishing up my episode, it said you ran out of words because I've been playing with the image thing too much and it eats up the most words. I literally I worked that sucker to death, bro. It is mad. It's like, nah, dude, you're done. You're done for a couple of weeks. But I think my usage is probably way heavier than most Ken folks. It says I use 99,989 words and you get 100 grand. But I got 6 days until it resets. So I guess luckily for me, I can go back. It says that my current word usage actually after that last push is 100,389. So I went 389 over. So I'm like, this is pretty gangster. This is pretty gangster. Now, it's been less than a month for me, so I might have to go to a bigger plan because I beat the brakes off this sucker. But it's pretty cool. And I will say, I have to give my apologies to Rich and them who've been telling me, you should do this. I'm like, whatever, man. You should, whatever, man. It's actually dope. It's super dope.
Rich is telling you can reload more words.
Yeah. He said I could top up. If I let me see, I can top up for 5 bones. I could add another 10,000, or for 25 bones, I could add another 25,000. So yeah, I'll probably do that rather than stop because I'm having way too much fun playing with it. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's think about something. I'm trying to make sure that we cover any questions that came in the last time that we didn't get to. But let's dive into sort of the guest prep, because this was one of the things that came up when we were at KIT, Craft and Commerce last weekend, people talking about guest prep. So you have a really cool situation. So maybe pretend I'm a guest and go through what your thing looks like. Okay. So we're going to roll credits.
All right, cool.
And this is Luis showing Doc how to be a guest on the flow. And 5, 4, 3.
How you doing, Doc? Welcome to the flow.
Hi. How's it?
Well,
how's it?
Well, if Doc were to be someone that really doesn't know it, the first thing that I would do is to make sure that he's comfortable. And then the first thing that I check is to make sure that the audio and visuals are good, because that's usually the main thing that the guest is worried about on their end, right? So right off the bat, you say, okay, you look and you sound good, right? And if it doesn't, then that's the first thing that we fix right away. And as soon as we get that, it usually sets the guest at ease, because now, hey, you know what? The rest can be taken care of. The next step that I do, and I'm going to hop into live demo mode real quick. Make sure we're showing you. Yep. The next thing I do is that I walk them through the run of show, which is what I have here off to the left-hand side in my scenes. And as you can see, the first thing that we have there is the intro. Then we have, it says D&K, which is Doc and Katie usually, for 20 seconds on the first screen, which has the flow and the names. And then it automatically switches to like a less, graphically heavy scene. And that's the next step. So if it's usually Doc and Katie, I don't have to explain this to them. If there is a guest, we have a 3-person shot right over here, which is usually the way that we set it up. And I'm walking them through the entire steps. Once I've basically set everything up in the background, I will then go to the guest and show them the run of show and tell them, hey, this is exactly what we're planning to do in our show. First, we're going to start with our 20-second intro. We hop into the Doc and Katie scene where they will introduce you as a guest. As soon as they introduce you as a guest, we will then go to the 3-person pop-up, which would be this scene. And go, this is where the remainder of the show is going to happen. Once we get to our ad reads, that's not the shot that we need. Once we get to the ad reads, we will then talk about the flow. Then we talk about Shure, and we will come back to that 3-person shot right here. But in this case is the 2-person shot to close out the show. At this moment is when I usually ask the guests if they have a presentation or a screen share that they might want to add to the production. And if so, we'll set all of those things up the same way. I'll go through the scenes and set up the screen share for that guest. And then once again, to set them at ease, I ask them, do you have any questions on the way that we have the production, or is there anything that you feel like that you would like to know before we go live? And that's my sort of walkthrough and run of show that I do, depending on exactly what guest and what we're presenting, that I do before we go live, just to set the client's mind at ease.
And it's really helpful. I've watched the people go through this and seen their face change in the middle. Like literally watch them go through. So I did want to point something out. John was asking a question. about doing a podcast with a single remote guest. Can you just use the interview mode? Absolutely. The interview mode does work. I will tell you, even as an Ecamm person who used interview mode for well over 4,000 hours. Like, I've been in that sucker 6 days a week sometimes. Zoom is way easier. Zoom is 15 bones a month. I'm hard pressed to be like, why you wouldn't give up them 15 bones a month for Zoom just for this? Because even then, your what's the word I'm looking for? Your production is simpler. Your guests are more comfortable because your guests, everybody, your cat knows how to use Zoom. Your dog, roaches know how to use Zoom. But when you interview mode is simple. It's simple. It's so frustrating to me because there's no reason why any human in this planet can't open a Chrome browser and basically have the same experiences we have in Zoom, but there is a mental block. And you spend so much time combing through that mental block. I have that scene hidden and it still plings. Why is that? Anyway, that thing, like, it really, really does make people lose their cookies. And I can't say I understand it, but I've experienced it. People just have a mental block when it comes to using the Chrome, interview, dial back in. You can't use Safari. Then they got questions. Well, does it work on the PC? If it works on Chrome, it works on PC. It works on Linux. It works on B&W dashboard. It works on anything because it's just Chrome. But you can't get that through to muggles. Muggles be muggling out here. So I honestly, people would tell you, John, because you're new here, I was the most anti-Zoom person in the planet. I was like, nope. It's way easier in Zoom. The audio, and one thing that Zoom does better than anything else, when your internet goes dumb for your guests, or yourself for that matter, Zoom has the best video compression in the world. Everybody else will turn into a bunch of pixels, but Zoom will try to hold it down, and they hold it down better than anybody. So this is not even an advertisement for Zoom. I'm just saying, right? When your guests get bad internet, they start to look like this, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then your audience is tripping. But Zoom, that was me. I did that on purpose, Luis. Don't panic. Don't panic, bro.
Because the other one timed. It was well timed.
The other one is pixely instead of, but yeah, trust me, it's worth $15. If you gotta rob somebody to get them $15. But definitely, I work here, and I would tell you that ours is the best. But some of the things that happens with that tool are out of our hands. So yeah, Zoom is just better. I'm sorry. I hate
and it's just become synonymous with virtual meetings because going back 5 years, nobody even uses Skype anymore, and that's
Zoom
the whole
put Skype
thing,
out of business.
Exactly. So that's why I said it's just become synonymous. The way that you would say, "Hey, search this up," you literally say, "Hey, Google this." Because Google has become synonymous with search engines, I feel that Zoom has just become synonymous with that meeting. And it's just easier for people to say oh, I'm just going to hop on a Zoom meeting instead of telling them, hey, I'm going to bring you in through interview mode. And maybe even the word interview mode, right? Interview is probably one of the first things that they hear that they're like, oh my God. But it's basically the same thing. And it's just another way of connecting.
John said, I love it. Muggles. Yo, muggles is my word, John. Sorry. I use it all the time. But yes, it is so much easier. It'll make your guests more comfortable. And there's one less thing you have to worry about. And then you can just sort of follow Luis's kind of go down and show them what you're going to do. And then they feel even better. So super cool. Let's dive into some tools that we get into. So we use a combination of Calendly or SavvyCal to book interviews. We were heavily Calendly. We're starting to move over to SavvyCal. They're both very good tools. Just SavvyCal works better for teams and, to us anyway. And that's what we're using for our team calendar. So we're starting to move to that. On my personal show, I use Notion, and I go live ahead of time, and we show people the mess that is Mary Lou and I building and run a show in Notion. On this particular showgram, we're using Milanote, and Milanote is great because it's a little bit more visual, and we don't have to worry about our associate producer, Paul, who's 95. he can see and know what's going on. It's a lot easier than Notion. No, really what it is Notion is straight line or linear, whereas Milanote is kind of like a whiteboard. You can put junk wherever you want, line things up, move them around. And so we use those tools for sort of planning our setup, right? And what else do we use? So we have that we use PodPage too. That doesn't really count, but you can set up a guest injection form on PodPage, which I talked to Katie about. Paul said I got hair. Shut up, Paul. I talked to Katie about when we were at KIT because we were dealing with some guest flow there. And I was like, we should go ahead and just get a guest form up on the site on PodPage so that way people can just come in and fill out the form, upload their headshot, get like a checklist sent to them, the whole 9 yards. So there's some really cool things that you can do for your show. And do you do anything from the producer side to say warm up to get ready, or is it just you like battery, you ever ready, knock the battery off the shoulder?
I actually do, but
if you got the battery off the shoulder reference, you're old. I just wanted to let you know. Okay, go ahead, Louis. Sorry.
Well, the asterisk is that it's something that as a producer, once you have a run of show and you produce it, maybe let's say 110 times, like we have with the flow, you actually tend to have a flow already with the process, which is almost like driving a car. Like where you could just hop in and you already know what you're doing. You just need to get to your destination. But at the same time, for me, I wake up or say like I start getting done like early, and I wake up to, I do comedy. That's just what I do. I listen to audio comedy, and I wait for a track to actually like really get the tears coming out of my eyes. And once that happens, I actually shut it down so that I can resonate in that high, like high energy, fun vibration. Because a lot of times what's happened to me is that I listen to another joke that's not as funny afterwards, and it kind of brings you down. So I kind of just get the RPMs high and just leave them there. And that's what I do on my productions and also my own live streams, just to keep it more lively.
That's super good. That's super good. I like the idea of getting into the flow. I normally just drink coffee, but there's
from 0 to 100.
However you do it is up to you. This is super cool. Okay, so wait, Paul is in Melanotion. That is the weirdest thing I've ever said. Melanotion. Paul is in Melanote, moving things around while I'm trying to talk. Like, stop messing with that. I looked over and I seen a little mouse go, Paul, right across the screen. So that's one of the things that's cool about Milanote and Notion is that Mary Lou and I can work in it together. And in Milanote, we have myself, Paul, Luis, Katie, I believe Jill, but we're all in here just sort of moving things around, which is super cool. All right, let's get into sort of the file management part, because this is what blows people. There, you can leave it there. Go ahead. Let's talk about this real quick. So you see Paul is in there.
Well, hold on.
This is just our running show. Did you just substitute my whole face for a screen?
No, that's what I was trying to bring up, the Milanote, but apparently that scene got messed up. So we'll continue.
All right. Don't worry. I have tutorials on Milanote. If not, we could do a whole show on how we do it, because it is kind of a deeper conversation, but that's super funny. Paul got me thinking about Secret Squirrel now. I always used to say that. Oh, my God. That was one of my favorite things. Stop moving that cursor around, Paul. Damn it, you're messing with me. One of the other things that's really big about this is the file management, bro. You're going to generate some files. Yesterday, I'm having a conversation with Brandon, right? As you know, he's one of our newest sort of Ecamm fam, and he's big into producing things. And so I was just showing him some things in Zoom, like how he can level his show up, and which is crazy because his show is top level. Like, it's kind of top level. Yeah, but Brandon is like me. Each one teach one. The next one got to be doper than the last. And we were on the phone on the Zoom for about an hour and let's say 15 minutes. And I opened the Zoom file after, yo, that sucker was 40-something gigs. Because I was showing him how to do, Zoom speaker switching and much cameras can come through, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. So it can get a little crazy. I'm going to give you 2 crazy suggestions if you have a smaller system, but you want to keep these files on deck. After you finish your edit, I drag all of the OGs and the output that went to Zoom into something called Shutter Encoder. And I just say, Shutter Encoder, shrink these suckers, make them small, because it will compress the files and maintain the majority of their original quality. But when I compress that file that started out at 24 gigs for one particular file in general, when I was done with it, it was 2. And I looked at them side by side, and they're pretty good. So that's good enough for doing clips, good enough for doing social, things of that nature. So that's what I do when I get something like that kind of gets out of hand. You can easily make it smaller. If you're a set app user and you have permute, you can do almost as well just with compressing it to like an Apple TV format. I know what I'll do. I'll probably make a tutorial on how to do it in set app and throw it up on my channel. Because Shutter Encoder is a little bit more involved, and you can get smaller, but SetApp can handle this bacon. The permute that comes with SetApp can handle it pretty good. It's just not as good as Shutter Encoder. But I'll show you how to do that, because if you want to keep your files, but you just can't be filling up all these hard drives. Just set up a little script that on Sunday when you ain't doing nothing, it just goes through the folder and just chomp, and then, you're good to go. Throw the rest in the trash. So that's one thing that I do. Do you do anything differently as far as like getting your files prepped or storing them for future reference?
Well, the prepping thing, I need to start doing that Shutter Encoder fact, because that's for my own stuff. I actually have that program and should be using it. So that's just a great tip. But luckily, when it comes to this production here on the Flow, we also use another program or application called Box. And Box is kind of like Dropbox or iCloud or another form of storage. But through Ecamm, we have a substantial amount, unlimited, I believe.
Yes.
And because of that, I haven't been dealing a lot with the compressing before I kind of like offload those files from my computer into Box. But I do it kind of fast, so to speak, because as soon as I get those files, and as a producer, another asterisk, 50 gigabytes of data, it's usually like my weekly amount of consumption and data per show per week. So even if we're not sharing anything when it comes to the files that I get from Doc, that are created here standalone, the ones that I get from Katie or a guest, 50 gigabytes of data weekly is like average. So once I've compiled all that, and then I take the files that I'm going to use and I put them into the editor, my case, Final Cut Pro. Final Cut actually creates another copy of the original files, and that's the way that I have it set up, so that I don't have to kind of be going back and forth. Or if I need to, like move that project onto another computer, I'm taking everything that I need with it, and I don't need to rely on the original files on the computer. As soon as that happens, I don't need that extra 50 gigabytes on my machine. So I take it and I throw it right into Box, organized so that it's stored away, and I just like offload it as soon as possible. So the time that I would use to kind of compress it to then upload, I'm just using it to upload directly to Box, because unlimited is just easier in that aspect. So that's what I've been doing. But for my own stuff, I need to definitely start using the Shutter compressor, because Shutter encoder to compress those files.
And crazy, I just added another 18 terabyte drive to the Synology. So I have more space. And the funny, man, it takes 3 days for that sucker to process. And I was leaving.
Wow.
And I was like, I stuck it in. It didn't grow yet. It is like, it has to do the calculation. And as full as that sucker is, like over 50 terabytes, it took 3 days for it to process, but now I got more space and I'm good to go. And I think I'm going to buy one more just to make it faster. The crazy thing is I did something that I'm a little terrified of, but I'm like, you know what? I'm a risk taker. I actually tried a renewed one because it was what was in stock. But the renewed one came with a 5-year warranty. So I'm like, all right, Western Digital, feet don't fail me now. I ordered it direct from Western Digital though. So that made me feel a little better.
But here's another thing that you're putting it into a NAS. Now,
Yeah,
if
so
you were using a refurb and it's the only drive, I don't recommend.
That's why I did it. I'm like, it comes from Western Digital, and what they said they did, right, is sometimes when you build a drive, I do understand circuitry. Sometimes you can get a bad circuit board. The platters passed all inspections. The circuit board was messed up. They just swapped the circuit board, which is actually easy to do. You could do it yourself. With a little bit of solder skills.
I have done it.
So with a little solder skills, you could do it yourself. But they said all he did was swap the circuit board. All right, cool. 5-year warranty, bet. I ordered it straight from Western Digital, and I got an 18 terabyte drive for $219 and some change.
Oh, that's good.
It's right. Holla back, young, and what? So I said, all right, I'm gonna risk
that's
it.
The price of 8 gigs.
Right, so I'm gonna let it see what goes, and then I'm gonna throw it back, get the next one, and put it in there just for speed. Because when you have more space, your NAS moves quicker. But yeah, I do store a majority of my things on the NAS, and you will generate some files. Let's get that straight. It's a matter of if you're comfortable with re-downloading your source directly from YouTube, then you could throw it away when you're done. Some of us weirdos keep it all. Like I got all of the Zoom calls, all of the video joints from the very, very beginning of doing my show, like 5 years ago. So it's kind of crazy. I should probably go back.
Digital hoarders.
Yeah, I should go back and chop off the last 3 years and only keep the last 2, which I started doing for more of the Zoom stuff. But the Ecamm recordings, I don't know. There's something about it. Something about Mary that's got that going. All right, so let's talk about something real quick. What is it like being a producer? Like, how that's so silly question, but it makes sense in my head. How does it make you feel?
Well, that's funny because you said it's a silly question, but it's probably maybe my favorite so far because I absolutely love this, right? Like, if I had nothing to do and I had all the time in the world, this is what I'd be doing. I'd be messing with this type of tech and just learning and nerding out because it's what I love to do. And I'm very lucky that I also get to make money doing the thing that I love, which is, like they say, if you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life. And it seems a little funny, but that's how I feel when it comes to these productions because, like I said, I take my time and I start prepping hours ahead of time of the actual production because I love it. I would love to be in front of it and I'm doing all these little nuance, and 9 times out of 10, I'm switching something that nobody's even going to notice. But that's what I love about it, right? And the fact that I get to do this and then produce a high quality production for somebody else and have them like not only enjoy it, but enjoy the experience. And the final product is something that's, very viable. That's what makes it like the best for me. And that's why I'm, like they say, a pig in mud, because I'm really in my element.
I just met, not just met, I saw again. I met her like maybe 3 or 4 conferences ago, but I met this lady, Maribel. She's a Puerto Rican girl, of course. And her and her husband do a show on the freaking Golf Channel. And she's Louise for this show on the Golf Channel. And like, it's when you see somebody who's like podcast producer on like the large scale, I'm like, yo, there's a lot of space in this part. People are looking for that lane. And I had mentioned something in a video a couple of days ago on my channel where I was talking about maybe you come to grips of, I don't have as much time to be in front of the camera, but I'm super, super dope behind the camera. If you're an editor, if you're a planner, if you're a writer, if you're a producer, if you're an executive producer like Paul, who can get that click up, Paul is like a freaking chef with click up. I don't give Paul credit for much, but when it comes to click up, he's like, sit down, let me show y'all this, blah, 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 boom, done. I present you click up à l'orange. Like, he got everything. The databases are insane. There's space for everybody out here, even if you like, I can't do the on-camera thing, like I can't talk. So there's space. And if you were to go into the linked event, there's choke people looking for you. And it's funny because John, I'm not picking on you. I know you're brand new. You just maybe didn't think it was worth $15. But I want to say, maybe you have somebody like John that's saying, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, but it's going to cost me like $40 a month. If you're really good at the graphics part, you can make $500-$600 a month just making thumbnails. So that way you can add that 50 to your show and get down with the get down. Right? There's people like Paul who would be guest management, sending out emails, making sure it's called a wrangler in like production, right? Paul would be a good wrangler. Like, he's going to get the guests. He's going to call Chris and make sure that Chris and Jim show up 15 minutes ahead of time. He's going to email Chris and Jim on Wednesday and do the tech check and make sure that the internet is good. Now, Jim lives in Atlanta. He got like 5,000 by 5,000 AT&T. Chris is in Georgia, but he got Peach Wireless. I don't know what he got, but it ain't the same as what Jim got. So Paul would call them, get them on the behind the scenes, make sure everything is like flowing, right? Check if they got any links. If the Dealcasters book tour is happening, he'll have all of that stuff, right? He's going to prep everything, get it together. And then he's going to pass that off to Luis. He's going to send the Lolo to, say, Katie and I. And he'll going to be like, okay, this week when they come on is going to be Chris's birthday. Make sure you give him a shout out. And turns out that Chris really loves the Detroit Lions. So if you want to throw that in there some kind of way, blah, blah, blah. Like, why he liked Detroit Lions, I don't know. But whatever. Honolulu Blue, I'm going to let him have it. So that's what somebody like Paul the Wrangler would do. There's a whole space for that. Like, legit, there just is. I watch the people that do it for other people at Kick Conference, and we're talking like the big time. I know who the Paul is for Pat Flynn. I know who the Paul is for Nathan from Kit. I know who the Paul is for Jay Klaus and for, some of the other people that we work with, right? So the biggest players, they have people like that. So if you're good at that type of stuff, put your folio together, knock yourself out. There's a lot of room in this podcasting space that doesn't necessarily have to be in the front. And I would tell you, call Luis and buy a session with him and have him show you how to remote produce, because, it's the money to be made. Like, if you got the time for it and the patience, well, I don't have the patience. Somebody just called me yesterday and was like, I got like 10 grand for you to produce half a season of these podcasts. I'm like, I can't do it. I ain't got the time. I wish I did.
Send them my link.
They want you to be here, unfortunately, because they don't understand how remote production works. And the other part is you're going to have to get your polale kala ehe mo mai kaino mahalo. I don't speak fluent Hawaiian, but I understand enough, so I can handle it. But I'm telling you, it's out here. It is out here. I legit just had this conversation yesterday. I'm going to have to put them up with Brad because, Brad got a new kid to feed now, so that's cool.
Yeah, but anybody could understand this from the aspect of going to a concert, right? Anyone who's ever been to a concert, you go there for the talent on stage, which is the reason what brought you out of the house to go to this venue. But the thing is that there are so many people right there behind the scenes, the audio mixer and sound engineers, lighting, the grip crew, so many things that need to be done correctly behind the scenes so that you can get that high quality production. And they are just as important, not more 100%. Or less, but just as important as the talent on stage that you're there paying the ticket for. And if they were to not do their job, it is like the lead singer, trying to sing with like strep throat. It is like, it's not going to happen. And they're just as important, except you will never know their names. And those are the behind the scenes producers like myself.
If I was going to go to see Taylor or Beehive, I would show up early and just like scope out all of the tech. I'd be scoping out the sound boxes, the whole 9 yards. I'd be seeing how many flyers they have. You know, when they build a speaker array that hangs from the ceiling, those are called flyers.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be scoping out the flyers. I'd be talking to the guys about what type of wireless monitoring systems you're using. Like, I would scope out the whole thing. And during the show, when you're supposed to be watching Tay do her thing, I'll be looking at the sound man. Be like, what he doing? Oh, he got an SSL? That's incredible. You know, that's what I would do, because I've done it before. You know, so like, I know for a fact, you know, when I'm going to see, when I went to go see Sumo here, right, I'm watching what the camera guys are doing, because they're basically invisible. But they're getting these great shots for the overhead. And I'm like looking at how they're doing it. And, you know, it's a Fujinon box lens, you know, 50 mil. It's just, anyway, yeah, 100%. So Luis is on point there. All right, gang, we're going to crack open some Q&A so you can get on. And I'll start with Patrick, because Patrick said, which headphones are you using, Doc? Patrick, are you related to Rich? Where's Rich? Anyway, I am using these. Paul put the link in the chat, maybe, but these are just generic KB ear. There you go. They're like 20 bones on Amazon. These are absolutely the best. And I keep backup copies. There you go. No relation. Rich and Patrick are not related. But yeah, these are really good. Amazon, $20. These are particular KB ears, but they're also sold as CCA. Thank you. Let me get that straight. KB ear, CCA, lens sole, KZ, ZSN. They're all the same basic. One driver, one bass driver, sub $25 in-ear monitors. They're all good. They're basically the same, just probably two families that make like 60 different brands, but they're phenomenal and they're so cheap. And my favorite thing about these is the cables is replaceable. So if you do have a dog or cat or something that does something crazy to your doohickey, you can just pop it off, get a new cable. As a matter of fact, I have a new cable because this cable's starting to oxidize. And I just found out they came out with a brand new purple cable. It's like 30 bones. The cable costs more than the headset, but I'm that dude, so I'm fixing to buy the new purple cable because it's dope. I have backup ones in my case back here. Yeah, they're just incredible. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to add to that because that is ideal when it comes to production, to have a wired setup. Now, me as a producer, just asterisk, these are wireless headphones, but I'm using them in a wired manner. So even though they're the Apple AirPods, these are my older set that are actually not connected to any of my iCloud setups. They're only connected to this little transmitter that I have here that just has a standard, headphone jack. And that's what I have connected. So anything that I connect that to goes directly to these wireless, which is just a feature that I have to cater to my son. But if it wasn't for that case, I'd be using a wired headset because that's what's ideal when it comes to being a guest and also your own productions.
Yeah, and the one thing that's bad about AirPods, as beautiful as they are and as good as they sound, all you need to do is be in the middle of your show and like your kid come in and pick up your phone and it just jumped over to your phone. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or, maybe you hit the mouse and accidentally wake up your secondary computer or your iPad or something and the sound would jump over there.
Yep.
Then you're like absolutely lost. So yeah, I don't normally recommend it. But that thing that Luis has, I actually have in my Alpaca, my day pack, because when I fly, I just plug that sucker into the back of the headset so I can listen to whatever's on the back of the airplane seat if I don't, in the beginning stages where you can't get your iPad out or it's up in the ceiling or something of that nature.
And just to clarify, like these AirPods are not connected to any other device, so they won't automatically jump to anything. They only have like eyes or communication for that device. That's why I use it, because the only communication is to that dongle.
Yeah,
so that's
100%.
the way that I bypass it.
100%. Now, while we're waiting for your questions, I do want to remind you we do have a free podcasting course. Paul did put the link in the chat. Make sure you go and check that out. If you're just getting started, it's a living course, so we're constantly updated when something fresh and new comes out. Like we go to town with that, and it's weird to say this, but it's good. It's weird to say that about something that you made, but it really is good. And I like the fact that it's a living course, so that does allow us to constantly update it so we can keep you going on what's going on. And then, again, open for questions now. If you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. I think another thing that's just really important to suss out is how important doing your podcast on YouTube is right now. It's phenomenal. Like, more and more and more, I go into those search boxy there, and whether it's Gemini or, Google's new AI search or Perplexity, it's snatching these results basically from content that's produced. It's really, really helpful. And so if you are an expert, like our buddy Rich Graham is an expert at getting, say, premiums for your business, right? And so we're doing, we're buying stuff for camp right now. So Paul, Katie, Jill, Caleb, and I, we've been looking at various things, right? Like, say you wanted to buy a bunch of branded bottles like this, Hydrate Spark, with the little LED that reminds you when to drink. And you're like, I want to get, XYZ premiums or whatever. All of that content that Rich produces now is a larger portion of the search diaspora than ever before. So because he's producing video content and shorts on his Instagram, it's funny. Is it still Instagram when it's Rich Graham? Is it Instagram Graham? Is it a Graham? Anyway.
It's Insta Rich.
It's Insta Rich? I wish I was. But those results are going to come up because Rich is actually doing that work. He's going to come up higher than some of the other people who still think that, I don't need to do social media because I don't like social media because it's too political. Like, those guys are going to get smoked. So your feelings about the current administration or the former ain't got nothing to do with it. But if you're not out here producing because you quote unquote don't like social media, which is weird because YouTube is not really a social media, you're missing opportunity that's incredible. I was looking for stuff yesterday, and I'm surprised at how many times it shows me a YouTube video as the source for where that answer came from. It's kind of incredible. Wow. Super cool, right? And I'm just comparing Cotopaxi backpacks because I need a new pack for travel for Japan because my tech bag is just getting a little bit heavy. And I was like, let me go check out these new Cotopaxi ones because they're just made out of recyclable materials. And, I'm also all in on merino stuff. So I'm seeing if anybody, recently has stepped up to Unbound because Unbound is expensive, but it's the best. I'm like, anybody can step to that. So I did a little Google search. It gave me some stuff, and Quince got high praises. And Quince shirts are $40 instead of $100. So I tried them, and they're good. They're not Unbound. So I'm going to stick to the 100 because I ain't that broke. But if you need a way to slide in, actually I am that broke, but I just like good stuff. But if you like the way to slide in, Quince is a good, I could recommend to people Quince is dope. I will always say to them that my Unbound is better. It's softer. It doesn't have that little shine to it. But if you needed a good travel shirt that you could wear like 3 days and not stink, no matter how funky you are, I could tell you Quince is good for $40. Actually, it was $38, so let's call it 40. Like, these results are coming from the content that people made. So,
yeah, that's
you got to make this content, fam. Like, you are missing the boat. Like, still tripping on stuff that ain't got nothing to do with you. I don't like the sound of my voice. We don't like the sound of your voice neither, but I need the info you got. How about that? Let me come hard.
I bet you didn't like the sound of all of your teachers' voices growing up in school. I bet you some of them got on your nerves.
When I be trying to add up these charts I I'm like, Miss Rosen, you finally came through with your coffee breath. Now I need her. Before I was mad, like, I don't need to learn this mess. I'm over here calculating spatial distances or whatever and shipping containers and all this other mess I needed to do in order to do my doc pops. And I could do, when I started calculating, like the shapes and sizes of microphones, I could smell Miss Rosen's coffee and Cool Miles all up in my face. But it worked. You know what I mean? With Ecamm, with Ecamm 4, does it generate Zoom links to email to show guests? I think you meant for Ecamm for Zoom. Gary, you can't be missing words when your boy can't read. I got you, Gary. When you're in, I can't do it right now because we're live, but in the Zoom box on Ecamm, when you say generate a meeting, it will generate the Zoom link, and then you can text or email that to your guests. You can also schedule your meetings on the zoom.com where you normally would do your scheduling, and then that auto-populates the third button in Ecamm that says schedule. I had to think about it because I always forget to look there. Me and Paul, we be laughing last week, right? Last week, I was just about to text Paul, where's the hell the link to the thing? And then Paul was about to text me, where's the link to the thing? And both of us realized all you can do is press schedule. It's right there. When you click on the schedule box, it populates from the meetings that you set up on zoom.com. And we both forgot about it because normally the two meetings that we do, which is one coming up in about 60 minutes, it was my Tuesday stream and my Saturday stream. Those links don't change. So we have those set up, and then the one that we use for class. And so we were doing a Ecamm Tech Talk, and it had been a minute because I've been traveling, and both of us kind of forgot what the link is, but it's in the schedule button. So Gary, absolutely, just go to schedule them how you normally schedule them with the website. Or if you just want to do an ad hoc meeting, you can click on new meeting and it just opens. And then I tell you what, that's how I do my calls nowadays. When people say, hey, you want to jump on a real call to do something quick, I hit the Ecamm for Zoom, open new meeting, and I send them a link. Like, super simple. Brandon is just like, hey, man, I want to check out something with my sound. I need to understand how the sound flow works. Boom, here you go. And in seconds, he calls in. And then we were like, wait a minute, this is backwards. In order for you to hear this, you should send me the link. Okay. We hung up real quick. He sends me a link. We jump on. And then we just knock it out. And I showed him how to do some sort of production stuff. This is it's really good. I do all of my calls with Ecamm for Zoom now, Gary. So first of all, fantastic question. And definitely just go to town. Have fun. One thing I must say before I forget, people, I'm going to go Allen Iverson for a moment. The most important part of this, practice. We talking about practice. Send a link to Chris or Rich or Luis or somebody and practice. And Luis mentioned it earlier. You need to know what it feels like on both sides of the equation. You need to know what it feels like for you to be running that Zoom call, producing that show. You also need to know what it feels like to be a guest of that show. If you want, you could just put a link in the community and be like, hey, fam, I want to practice hosting guests in Zoom. Here's a link. Just post it up, sit back and relax. And within a couple of minutes, somebody like Matt would be like, I ain't got nothing to do. Let's come through, right? And then vice versa. I need to feel like what it feels like to guest. Can one of you guys fire up a meeting and send me a link? Matt's going to come through. He's going to have these little sticks like this. And then you're going to be like, so, it's so simple, family. The Ecamm community, this is why we love them. Everybody is so willing to help. If you just said, hey, I got some time on Saturday from this time to this time, I need to practice my Zoom, people would be like, bet, let's go. Paul and Branjo have been doing the random practice sessions in the Facebook group. So just reach out if you need some practice, fam. You really got to do it. And Matt, we'd be like, hey, Matt, we need your help. Okay. Well, I ain't finished the sentence yet. This legit happened last week, by the way. Hey, Matt, we need your help. Okay, whatever you want. Wait a minute. What do you want? That was exactly what happened. And Katie will prove it. Katie has my back. Matt's like, I'm down. I was like, Matt, you didn't even know we could have told you to stole a car. He was like, whatever. Ecamm needs my help. I'm there. He was like, Matt Man. Hi, I'm Matt Man.
That one could be used.
Thank you, Matt.
That one, I like that one.
Thank you, Matt. I love you, bro. But yeah, like legit, that's how the Ecamm community is. Matt, Mike, Rich, Paul, like everybody who's hanging out. If you guys got questions, if you're new to this, just reach in the community and be like, fam, I throw up the Matt signal. I'm going to beat this pun to death, yo. To the Matt-mobile. Let's go. Sorry, Matt. I'm gonna leave you alone.
Those are all good.
Sorry, Matt. I'm gonna stop. I can't believe I'm spouting DC stuff because I'm Marvel all day. I hate DC, but it's for Matt, so I'll just let the love go. Is that make sure we got everything? No, always waiting until at least 30 seconds to the show is much better. Aaron, what'd you say? What are you telling Paul? Aaron, you scared me. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate you, bro. If you have any questions at all, please, people, just drop your questions in. We're down to help. This video podcast and stuff does not have to be scary. It does not have to be complicated. And Chris mentioned something way up in the chat talking about. He said just being smart. Chris mentioned something way up in the chat talking about these headphones. It's really about clarity and doesn't have to be expensive. And I say that's the same thing about doing a podcast in general. Chris is right. With decent lighting in your phone, you can produce something cool. So don't overthink it. You kind of have to just press buttons and see where you are. All the rest of this stuff is learnable, but overthinking it doesn't learn you anything except for how to take ibuprofen from the headache. That's about it. That's literally about it, because all of that pent up frustration just becomes a headache. And so just avoid the headache and just make something instead. That's the answer. That is the answer. Okay, guys, I wanted to remind you that this show and pretty much the last couple of episodes have been sponsored by Shure. So make sure you go and check out Shure, SHURE.com. That's SHURE.com. We use them, all our microphones. Most of the Ecamm fam is rocking Shure microphones, and we just absolutely love it. And of course, if you want to reach out to us, you can reach out to us at flow.ecamm.com. That's FLOW.ECAMM.com. And that will allow you to get your podcast wherever your podcast getting is got. And just a reminder, we do host this on Captivate. So go and check out the Flow. You can leave us a guest request. You can ask questions. You can leave us voicemail, leave reviews. It's all there. And pretty soon, we're going to put the guest in checklist so you can go and sign up to be a guest. That's cool. Any last minute things, Luis? Man, I swear I speak English. I promise you, people, I do speak English.
Because I want to add this in so that we don't make a third episode, right, of the production, which is, excuse me, how we actually transfer our files now. This is the last little nugget.
Yes.
Because Doc introduced me to a new program that since has been my go-to, and it's called Blip. Now, Blip is a standalone program that works on your computer, and it's allowed Doc and Katie to transfer these big, massive files directly to my computer in a matter of minutes. It really tries to utilize your bandwidth and your high-speed internet as much as possible. And I'm able to download a file from Doc, who's in Hawaii, in around a half an hour. So he doesn't have to upload it to another system like Box, and then I have to then wait for it to process and then download it myself so that then I can start editing. With Blip, I'm getting these files directly on my computer in less than an hour, and I'm talking about 15 to 20 gigabytes files, and sometimes I've gotten them in minutes. So it depends on the internet, but I have to say, guys, check it out. It's super easy to use. You just sign up with your email, and pretty soon you'll be blipping files left and right.
Blipping is the new verb. I think if I understand the way it works is when you're sending a file through something like Dropbox or Google Drive or whatever, you still have the overhead of the browser and the graphics and all of that. HTTP protocol, it takes a little bit longer. Blip uses something that's known as NTTP protocol. It doesn't have any imagery. It's just raw numbers. So when you don't prettify the packets, it's quicker. So it just flies. It absolutely flies. Oh my God, it's so good. So go ahead and check out Blip. Not sponsored, but dope AF nonetheless. Autofocus. That's what AF means, autofocus. I forgot there's an Ecamm show. Matt said that's blipping awesome. See, he got the power of Madman and the jokes of Robin. Holy blipping Batman. Wait, holy blipping Matman. Oh, camp is going to be so fun. I'm buying this dude a cape and some glasses. We're going to have Matt walking around with a cape the whole time at camp. Wait, Paul, you need to throw up a link for camp just because y'all still got time to sign up, but y'all don't got a lot of time. Y'all need to stop clowning because I want to hear it. Nobody told me about camp. It seems so much fun. I don't want to hear it. And I don't want to hear it.
And if Paul could drop the link to Daniel's course for live producers, because he just did it and you have availability to watch the replay. So that's something else that's also good if you're looking to start being a remote producer for somebody else and you're looking to get into this. So something good to check out.
There you go. There you go. There you have it. Family, thank you for watching The Flow. And you know what we say around here. I answered you, Aaron. It only moves media. It does not cloud storage. So that's why it's free, because otherwise it would be costly. But yeah, thank you guys for coming through. I appreciate all of the times you guys show up and help us, help you, help yourself. It sounded good for like a half a second, and then it just went all the way off the tracks. Thank you guys. You know what we say around here? Flow Riders out.